Good morning. Um, Today we're going to talk about gray water. I have a little bit of a different definition of that, but gray water. Um, it seems that hydration is a big problem when it comes to humanity. I don't know the exact numbers, but I know that there's a lot of people that suffer from dehydration or not having clean treated water. So that includes Africa, India, South America, First Nation people in North America, people throughout the world need clean drinking water. Um, so what can we do um, to solve this problem? Well, in Canada and parts of the United States, in Russia and Europe and China and Asia, there's a lot of snow that falls every year. And I know myself, if I was out on a farmer's field here somewhere in Alberta and I was to shovel for 8 hours and save that snow, that snow that falls, it seems that I would probably provide one person with enough water to clean themselves, to hydrate themselves, um, to cook for themselves, and maybe to even have a water gunfight. Um, so if I'm shoveling snow, one scoop of snow is enough water to provide a liter of water. So um, it seems to me that the reason why I'm associating gray water to snow is because it's untreated, so that it's clean, but it's also in between liquid and and air or solid. It's like a combination of air and and water. So it's in between solid and liquid. Um, Now, uh, given the importance of dehydration or not having a well hydrated system throughout the world, the problem with shoveling snow is uh, melting the snow, which would require some type of apparatus or some type of factory in order to melt the snow and treat it so that it's drinkable or usable. Like right now, there's kids in Africa that travel for hours and hours just to get water, and they don't have a chance to go to school. So if you provided water and you got some type of portable um, distribution um, device, like a tank on the side of a house or a tank in the village, you would have people getting water more easily than having to travel for a while to get water. Um, Now the thing is that you have to consider what Europe was like without running water and how the people were without running water. The people were more dirty. There was more chance of disease. There was more chance of illness. Um, there was it didn't help with the aesthetics of cleaning yourself every day and being a clean, fresh person. So some people think that I've heard it said that water is not a basic human right. I think it's a basic human right. And whoever controls the water, be it Iceland, Canada, Russia, Europe, um, the snow that comes on these areas, um, it seems that um, what's the use in nation building without running water? Um, with First Nation people here in North America, they don't have running water, so they don't have working toilets, they don't have working faucets in the sinks, in the kitchen, and they're living in a situation that's similar to the way that the Europeans lived before running water, similar to the Middle Eastern people before running water. So running water is very good for the health and wellness of a society or a civilization. So considering the amount of snow, I'm going to call it mana, considering the amount of mana or life-giving material or substance, which would be H2O or water, given the amount, it seems that the problem is that would we deprive nature of water by harvesting water to nation build or to improve the lifestyle of people around the world? Well, I think that the best bet is to take off a top layer, and then get to the middle layer and harvest the middle layer because it's not exposed to the air and pollution. But we're going to treat the water too, and if we treat the water, then treat the snow or the mana, we'll be in a situation where we can start nation building in a more easy way, instead of having water lines running from this place and that place and to get to a one house. So if on the side of a house we had a big water tank and we started using snow to fill up that water tank, you would have of course a hot water heater. You'd have a contained plumbing system within that house, and you would have a self providing house with running water. Now the thing is flushing the toilet and running the faucet and taking a shower. That's a lot of water. So these are things that we would have to consider when it comes to harvesting snow, because you consider the amount of people, like one person showering once a day or every 2 days or whatnot, or using the sink to wash the dishes, or the amount of water that will be used through this grey water movement or this grey water activity by harvesting snow is a lot. So how do we harvest snow and not worry about causing too much dryness or damage to the environment? Well, it's something that we haven't tried. Maybe farmers have tried it where they hoard snow, but they generally hoard rainwater, because snow is too hard to melt and you only get a certain amount of water, and then you'd have to melt it again, and then you'd have to melt it again in order to get the same amount that you would get from rainwater. So if we want to improve our lifestyle here on planet Earth, if we want to improve our way of living, running water is really good for the self-esteem of rising nations or rising peoples within communities. So the First Nation people are suffering because they have no running water. The African people are suffering. The East Indian people are suffering. There's places in South America where people are suffering because they have no plumbing or running water. So I think that when people talk about nation building, it's impossible to talk about nation building without the esteemable activity of having clean drinking water, of having clean bathing water, of having clean urinal water or toilet water. So as long as we don't consider these people and take care of their needs so that they can become something within their community or their nation, who's going to flip the bill for this? By myself, within an 8-hour day, I can provide enough drinking water for one person for a month. I know I could do that if I shoveled enough snow. So the amount of labor that's involved with I think it's called irrigation, plumbing, from running something from Lake Superior to a reserve or something like that, in Ontario. Um, if people had a self-contained house that had a water tank on the side of the house, and plumbing that's within the house, then we wouldn't have to worry about all this construction and transferring of water and stuff like that, because we're just shoveling water. Now let's say that there's a reserve and there's 3,000 to 4,000 people on this reserve. Me and 10 other guys within a month could provide enough water for that reserve, or a girl shoveling snow, could provide enough water for that reserve, so that they can clean themselves, so that they can drink water, so that they can cook with water, so that they could live the lifestyle of having water. Now the thing is that if you take a look at most undeveloped countries, one of the main problems that they have is they have no running water. Now, if we're into nation building in the States and in Canada and Europe and Russia and stuff like that, some people say, you're taking our jobs, you're doing this, you're doing that. Consider an African person that's never experienced running water, let alone hot water, for example. Like, they may have experienced it once or twice, but there's a lot of people that haven't experienced it. And they come to North America and there's running water everywhere, and there's skyscrapers and there's airplanes and there's this development. There could be cognitive dissonance involved with just coming into a society that has running water. So with First Nation communities, when they come to the big city and stuff like that, they may experience cognitive dissonance with why don't we have this? How come we don't have this running water? So First Nation people are suffering from not having running water. Their culture and their communities are they don't have the esteemable activity of having water. And because they don't have the esteemable activity of having water, they suffer as a proud society. So yeah, given the amount of snow in Russia, just Russia alone, like that's a lot of snow. Europe and Canada and Greenland, and the thing is that if we harvest the snow, who's going to be in control of it? Who's going to contribute to the movement of the water across the ocean in tankers or freight tankers, the movement of the water through water trucks, the treatment of the water or the snow or the mana? There's a lot of work involved. So this is just an idea that I'm throwing out there. I believe that we can solve a lot of problems just by harvesting snow. And by harvesting snow, I mean in Russia, Europe, Canada. I think we should save Greenland. And the purpose is to raise people's esteem when it comes to the preciousness of water. I hope that this gets through. I hope that somebody sees this and says, yeah, that's a good idea. Because the amount of snow that I can shovel in a day, I could save a person's life. I could dysentery and all that stuff. I could save a person's life just by working and shoveling snow. If I could dedicate my life to shoveling snow to help nation build and help build the esteem of societies and communities and nations to become something other than worshipping water, but not taking for granted water, but living in a society where cleanliness is really good. This video has been dedicated to the empowerment of the Red Road and keeping your home fires strong.